Very much. I want to switch subjects to the challenge we had in Portland, Oregon. The U.S. Forest Service decided to do an innovative study looking at the samples of moss in the city because the moss draw all of their sustenance from the air, and therefore they're kind of like a little air monitor. And when they started analyzing the moss samples taken out throughout the city, they found these hot spots for cadmium and arsenic. It looks like there's going to be a little bit of hot spot on lead, though I'm not sure that's as well developed yet. They're still working on the data. But the graph on the cadmium was dramatic, too, and it turns out these two hot spots correspond to two glass factories. And my understanding is that the EPA said they were exempt from regulation for arsenic and cadmium because they only produce their glass in batches rather than having a continuous furnace. And I must say, citizens thought, well, it seems like a pretty arbitrary thing. You have a plant producing substantial quantities of pretty toxic substances for human health. And so one of the requests that Congressman Blumenauer, Senator Wyden, and I have made is for the EPA to look at this very carefully and see if this is an oversight that needs to be remedied.
Yes, Senator, I'm quite familiar with the situation. I've been in close contact with Regional Administrator McLaren over the last couple of weeks and really want to commend the agencies in Oregon for being so proactive on this issue. I hope you know that Oregon is a real leader in evaluating and taking action on toxic chemicals. We are looking very closely at the rules that were last adopted in 2008, I think. We're also looking across the country to see what other facilities are like this, and we'll take appropriate actions.
And I do appreciate Dennis McLaren's prompt response to the letter that Senator Wyden and I sent, in which we're asking for full, extensive cooperation. And can we count on the EPA to be a full partner in evaluating the health of the citizens impacted by this cadmium and this arsenic?
Well, there are other agencies in the federal government who are more expert in evaluating health impacts, including the ASTDR, who's working with the health department in Oregon. And so we want to make sure we're offering support in the areas where we have clear expertise. And right now, that is in air monitoring, in looking at these facilities, understanding their emissions better, understanding what control technologies might be available, looking at how these facilities are regulated. And we'll work fully with the health agencies on the federal level and with the environmental and health agencies in Oregon.
Thank you. I appreciate that commitment, and I can't overstate how much concern there is among the citizens who live in the zones of contamination that have been just recently identified. And so in every possible way you can help, including encouraging other parts of the federal government to lend their expertise, would be much appreciated. But the other point, and I'll just close with this, is that this is kind of a landmark event of utilizing moss as a cheap, inexpensive way to monitor the quality of air. And so I would like to see the EPA look at this very closely, because the tests that cost many hundreds of dollars with a monitor, or thousands of dollars, can be done for just a fraction of that by testing the moss. And I think this has just not been recognized before. I think this is something of a breakthrough. And if it turned up these two hot spots in Portland, then maybe this use of moss study should be something we should undertake. I think the entire study was $20,000. Should be utilized in other urban zones, and I'm imagining you're looking at that, but I want to encourage that.
Yes, sir, we really are. I've had exactly the same thought pattern as you have. I don't think not all cities are as blessed with moss as Portland, but I definitely think it is something that we need to be looking into.
The Portland rain does well once again.
Yeah.
Thank you.